We're not. Okay, y'all. I'm here with this girl, and she out here. Matter of fact, hold on, y'all. I'm here with this girl. I'm trying to go live. She talking about anxiety. Now that's not why we're late. We're late for a different reason. She's talking about she's getting anxious. Are y'all going? Is that what y'all do? Do you, audience members, make my guests anxious? Because I think you're like the most loving, sweet bunch of people ever, and I don't know why she's acting up on this internet. No, I took her off the screen to give her time to get it together, and I think she might have it together now because her anxiety needs to be at like a 2, and it was creeping up to a 10. And we're all friends. We're all friends here, right? Tell me in the comments. We're all friends. Tell me in the comments that you love me and you're really, really about just dying to love Keyoka because Keyoka's here. Keyoka's here.
Hi, everyone. Hi. I mean, I am the awkward Black nomad, so.
She started this call off so awkwardly. And I've met her so many times before, and still she managed to make this moment awkward. And I'm like, this is a special skill. Like, it is a skill to make moments that should not be awkward.
I can't help it.
You're branding. It's on point. You're doing
I can't help it. It's like having brown hair. Like, I'm going to be awkward.
You gonna do it. All right. Now we are late because Kyoka is not in Albania, where we might not have had this problem. Instead, she's in Dallas, where her internet isn't good enough to go live.
It's ghetto.
Like literally, we both were like, "What's happening?"
Over here in the U.S., I don't know how you guys are surviving. It's a mess.
What I was like, I'm in Brussels and my internet is working.
I'm just saying.
You're in Dallas, and what?
We've been having a lot of bad weather recently, and I think that's what's messing up my.
In this very moment, are you having bad weather? Describe the bad weather to us. What's happening outside?
There's rain. It's raining.
It's rainy. The internet can't work. Oh my goodness. Okay, y'all. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about life abroad and being young, Black, and abroad. And sometimes living in Albania and sometimes living in other places. So Kyoka is a wonderful guest for us today because she's going to be awkward and she's going to answer all our questions. And she's going to have answers for you that I can't answer because I'm an old and she's a young. And so she's going to give us the young answers.
I'm technically not a young, but okay. Like,
how old are you?
You're always trying to rob my age from me. I will be 31 this year. I'm grown. I got dogs. I got responsibilities.
Is there a vote thing in this thing? I think if I vote thing, we can vote on this. Hold up.
I don't want to hear anyone.
Hold up. We about to do this, y'all. I'm about to figure out how to do this. I'm not sure, but there is a will. So I know there is a way. Keyoka says she is not young. She is 31. Come on, YouTube. Let me get this voting thing up.
Be 31, everybody, June 14th, Gemini,
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
You were so close to being a Taurus. But
absolutely not.
I just missed it. You missed it. Okay, everybody in the comments is saying you young.
Not fake news. Okay, Maya. Everybody.
I don't know what to tell you.
Everybody relax.
They all said, I was looking for the vote feature, but it's not coming up fast enough. So we just gonna have to say, you're a young.
We have some youngins. Someone said they'll be 31 June 30th. Come on, twin.
Yes, you said you have some youngins because you're young.
Air quotes.
And she's young with you. Okay, so we're going to get the young perspective on living abroad because you talk about things that I don't talk about and do things that I don't do. Like, she was posting about being in a club. What I look like in a club?
Excuse me, I went to the club with your mama, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, So
I don't
first
know
of all,
what we're talking about.
first
She
of all,
taught me how to. She taught
first of
me
all,
how to take a
some
shot.
people, some people, like when you first said it, I was like, "Oh, we're not making mama jokes," and then I was like, "No, she really did go to the club with my mama."
No, really,
Really. When you said that first, I was like, "Wait a minute now, you really did go to the club with my mama." And where was I? In my bed. I was in my bed.
Were you? I don't know. I don't see. I stay out of people's business. So
Are you? Because you asking, are you staying out of people's business? Because it sounds like you're not.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I really don't know where you were. So
I just told you where I was, and then you tried to raise
allegedly.
it out. You tried to raise down, y'all. Okay, so this interview isn't going as planned.
Already left. We're 5 minutes in. It's going left.
Already left. Let's get it back to center. Let's try.
Okay.
Kyoka gonna talk about some things I can talk about. First, if you have questions for Kyoka, please ask them in the comments. Because I feel like me and her, we're gonna get into it in this video, and I don't know why. Like I treat my guests with loving kindness, and Kyoka's coming in here with
Loving kindness.
Is that
Yup.
is that okay? All right. So if y'all have questions for Kyoka about life abroad, drop in the comments. First, Kyoka, why don't you introduce yourself? Because we're 6 minutes in and I haven't done that yet. Hi.
Oh, I hate introducing myself. Hi. Yes. I'm Keyoka. I have a channel called the Awkward Black Nomad. I'm a copywriter. I'm a dog mom. I have 2 Chihuahua mixes. Last year, I spent all year traveling across Europe with them. So I talk about a lot of that on my channel.
And what is your channel?
Awkward Black Nomad.
On the YouTubes?
On the YouTubes, on the Instagrams, on the TikToks.
In TikTok?
I be TikToking.
A youth. The youth. You show signs of being youthful.
I don't really know how to use it though. That's why I'm a millennial.
And many of us have never tried. See, that's the difference. That's the difference right there. All right. So we're going to talk about this thing. We're going to talk about this thing, Awkward Black Girl. All right. So you've been spent most of last year traveling through Europe. How did that start?
I just decided to destroy my life. I think I was going through this like really transitional time. I talk about this on my channel. So like I lost my mom in 2022. And so it really started me on this path of like putting things into perspective. I had never been abroad. I had just graduated with my master's, something I was pursuing for my mama. And then like I lose her and it's kind of like, okay, I have this piece of paper. I have this job that I do like and I'm making like a really good wage. But I'm feeling like unfulfilled. Like my friendships weren't working out. I had a man that wasn't giving. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna just go and I'm gonna go find myself. I think also joining Exodus has helped a lot because seeing how you guys travel, seeing how you guys enjoy life and take care of yourselves, I really wanted to do more of that in my own life. So I just planned this trip and some things went awry, some things were amazing. I had a really phenomenal year last year. And I hope that like I'm gonna have a phenomenal life. I think before I was just kind of like, well, because it's like before, you know, this is the norm. So it's like, okay, I'm just living to survive. I'm living to exist. And now I feel like I'm living to thrive.
Okay. So how have you changed from pre-Europe to post-Europe?
I would say I'm a smidgen more extroverted than I was before I started traveling. It might be because someone forced me to start talking to people.
Who would do that?
I don't know. You might know her. You guys have the same name, so it's kind of strange that you don't know her.
Was it Stephanie?
No, it was you.
Was it Stephanie?
No, it was you.
Was it Marwa?
That first meeting where you were like, okay, talk to this person.
Was that London?
That was London. That was, I think, like, that was at the beginning of me traveling. And so I was still like very much in my shell. I think I had only been abroad at that point, maybe 2 weeks when I met y'all. And so I had been like kind of, I don't know, there's this period when you first leave, where you're still like in that same, you're the same person, you're doing things the same way that you did in the US. And then I feel like the longer I spent abroad, I sort of just like broke out of that cocoon in a way that I probably never would have if I hadn't traveled by myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So the person who made you speak to strangers did you a huge favor and you wish you had 1,000 ways to repay them?
Yeah, I guess, man. Whatever. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. See? Points on the board. All right. So one of the things what she's talking about is when Stephanie and I were in London last year, we met up with the Exodus Summit crew there. And my philosophy about meetups is that you absolutely need to like leave with someone else's contact information. Like if you come to a meetup, you haven't really done your meetup job unless you've met someone, and meeting someone isn't just a hey or hello. It is a how I have, even if you only find one person, I'm an introvert, so I'm not gonna get 70 people's phone numbers. Stop it. I'm not gonna get 70 people's phone numbers. I'm gonna get like one person. I'm gonna see one person and be like, that's my girl. That's my new girl over there, right? Get a phone number and I'm out. If you haven't done that, you don't have one person's contact information, their Instagram, their phone number, you didn't go to a meetup. You just went to a meet.
Yep.
So yes, I made Keyoka go be social. She was like, and you're still friends with at least one person from that meetup, right?
Yeah, I'm friends with a couple of people still from the meetup, like Zolani. I'm really good friends with Zolani, and like I think even though I do prefer to travel solo, having that community and still being able to like reach out to people, find people no matter what country I'm in has been really beneficial for me.
Okay. So yay for a little bit more extroverted post-Europe. Any other changes?
I think so. Before I left, the only thing I wanted to accomplish was to stay away for a year. Now that I've gone for a year and I've come back, I'm ready to go. Okay. So that's something I've learned. Like, listen, over here is not the tea. I'm trying to branch out. I'm trying to go experience life in other places. Like, that's solidified now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how long are you back in Texas for?
I'm giving myself a year.
Okay.
Optimistically.
When did you get back to Texas?
Maybe like a month ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I definitely missed that.
Miss what?
That you were back in Texas? I don't be knowing things. I can't.
So when we left, well, when I left, because I know somebody was gallivanting across the continent and other places. When I left South Africa, I went to Albania for a few more weeks, and then I came back to Texas and was like, okay, me land my personal plane and figure out what I want to do going forward. And now I just feel like, yes, I would like to leave.
Okay.
For a month, ready to go.
Where do you want to go when you leave?
We're not there yet. It might be, honestly though, because I spent so much time in Albania, and I feel like it's a really good place when you're traveling long term to set up as a base. I would go back to Albania. I have friends there. I just enjoy it there. I enjoy it there. So I would go back to Albania, but then I would also use it as a springboard to go to different places. I would love to spend more time in Africa. I haven't figured out a way to travel there with my dogs, but there's a lot of countries in Africa that I want to explore.
Okay. All right. Let's get to Albania since you would go back. You enjoyed your time there, right? How long did you spend in Albania?
So I spent maybe 3 months last year, and then this year, probably like another 3 months. So probably about 6-7 months total.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why Albania? What brought you there in the first place?
Poor planning. So I was already abroad, and
Mm-hmm.
then I didn't realize, like, I'm telling you, I had I had an expansive spreadsheet. I had all these details, but somehow this fell through the cracks. Croatia became a part of the EU last year. And so you couldn't use it as a country to wait out time
Mm-hmm.
for your visa. So I was like, okay, I have to figure out where to go that's outside of the Schengen zone. And at the time I was planning to, I knew I wanted to go. I knew I would be in Spain after I left the UK. And so I was looking for places that were like warm for the summer and then also outside of the Schengen zone. So I was like, why not just try Albania? It was very random. It wasn't on my radar at all. And I just ended up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so did you do any research between the time when you were like, why not Albania, and the time you landed in Albania? Did you do any research, or were you just like, get on the plane and see what happens?
Well, someone in the Exodus Summit group posted about Albania, and they were like, more Black women should come here because it's affordable. There's one post, just one. And so then I also I joined different like expats in Tirana, expats in Albania, different groups on Facebook. And I was like, well, how are Black people received? Like I would flat out ask that question. And people were kind of like, there's no Black people here, but Albanians are very friendly. They're very kind. I had a couple of aggressive comments, but for the most part, people were helpful. So I just decided to see what it was like myself. I did a little bit of research, but there's not a lot available online because I feel like Albania is the country that is kind of like Europe's best kept secret. Like not a lot of people know about it.
Okay. Now, when you say, okay, so I thought about this earlier. A little mini rant for me is that in traveling through Europe right now, I'm in Brussels, in Belgium. And one of the things I struggle with around the world, one of the things I struggle with is that we all speak the same language because of colonialism. So every time I'm in like an African country and people are speaking to me in French or English or any other language, I'm like, you know what I mean? Like any European language, I'm like, life should not be like this. Like what? Right? Or any country in the world outside of them, whatever. But even like in Belgium, the people are speaking French or whatever. Flemish, maybe, I don't know. When I'm here and I'm having a much better time than I did in Amsterdam. And I'm like, oh, I really like this. Oh, this is not, oh, this is good. The Belgians knew what they were doing. And then my brain kicks in and I'm like, genocide, right? Like,
right.
I was enjoying this so much, I forgot about King Leopold.
Right.
And what they did to the Congo. And now I'm enjoying it a little bit less, right? And so I was thinking about Albania today, and I'm like, I think they mostly minded their own business, right?
Yeah, and I think also Albania was seen as like a refuge for oppressed people. So like a lot of like during World War II, a lot of Jewish people escaped to Albania and came, and like during mini wars, they were kind of like housing. Like there's a lot, like right now there's a lot of people from Ukraine that are there. Like it's I think culturally they tend to be a little just more accepting, but they also really like Americans. So the Black thing is sort of secondary.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have like visiting countries that don't have like oppressive, I wouldn't say oppressive histories, but that's a little too passive. Like countries that did not colonize.
Right. Actively
colonize, murder, and commit genocide.
Right.
Is, it's refreshing. It's hard to find.
Yeah, it's hard to find. It's kind of nice, to be honest.
Especially in Europe. It's hard to find a country, the one out there killing folks. So yeah, I'm out here like even things like buying chocolate in Belgium, which is what it's they're known for it. I'm like, but who died getting this chocolate, right? Like, and I buy chocolate around the world,
Really?
and
Yeah.
I don't know that like the chocolate here is any more evil than the chocolate anywhere else in the world. But in my brain, I'm like, but the history here tells me it just might be, right? Like it just might be a little bit worse. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that's for me one of the hard parts of traveling through Europe is
Yeah.
it's.
I mean, in a similar vein, I was just talking to my friend in the UK about this. So, like, we're talking about like wealth disparities, and I was saying how in South Africa, I felt like rich, like with the heavy R. But but the fact is, like, when you come from America, no matter how much money you make, you're struggling to survive. You're like, we are steeped in hustle culture. Like, that people people can be making six figures and still living paycheck to paycheck, right? So it made me sort of uncomfortable to have people carry things for me, to have to everywhere I would go being called Miss, or like, I'm like, Miss. I mean, I kind of like it. So it's like a part of it is, allowing myself to be comfortable with experiencing luxury, but then also I'm getting this treatment because the people waiting on me are probably like grossly underpaid, and like colorism plays into it, right? So obviously I'm not a darker skinned person who probably doesn't have access to the same things I do, because when I come into a space, like, I just think it's always important to check your privilege and to know where your foot is, right? Because obviously somebody's foot is always on someone's neck. So it's always important to check where your foot is and who you're stepping on. And even like in Albania, it is cheap, right, compared to other European countries, definitely compared to America. But also when Americans in particular come to Albania, we disrupt their economy by bringing our American dollar. We disrupt their economy when we're willing to pay for, what may be seen as an outrageous price to an Albanian. And we're like, this is significantly less than how it is in the US, right? So I'll pay like something like $30 for a taxi ride when really it's like $5, right? So it's just being conscious of those things as you travel.
What helps you be conscious of those things?
I mean, I'm probably terrible at it, but I think it's a good idea. It's a good concept. I think it's how you experience travel, right? So like, maybe it's the choice not to go to the resort. Maybe it's like having a more, I don't want to say like experience it as a native, but having just a more low-key experience, and just like, maybe you want to just maybe you just want to see nature, right? As opposed to like doing something super lavish that you can't do anywhere else. But I also don't want to knock luxury, because I feel like we, especially as Black Americans, don't have access to luxury in that same way, because in America, you go to a fancy hotel, or you go anywhere really, and they're looking at you like you don't deserve to be there. They're looking at you like your coin isn't the same. So I don't know. I think it's a balancing act, and I think whatever feels authentic to you is the route that you should take. I said a lot of words.
No. You said good words. There's a question here about Albanian food. Let's lighten it up a bit.
Right. Let's go back. The food, I like the food. It's Mediterranean, because they're right next to Greece. So, lots of olives. I don't like olives, but lots of olive oil, lots of like natural stuff. Like, so one thing I noticed, and not to like tell too much of my business, but like being back in Texas, my gut health is suffering, because when I was in Albania, I had been there for months and I was eating clean food, essentially. Like, you go to the butcher to buy meat. You go to the, I don't know what to call it, but it's like the dairy place, and you buying fresh cheese that someone is making. The bread is fresh. You're eating fresh bread every day. And the ingredients are just so clean, no preservatives, that I think maybe my body forgot how to break them down or something. so I get back to the US, and it's like a bunch of processed food. There's, all kind of random pesticides being sprayed on the vegetables. And I'm primarily vegetarian. So I've only been eating vegetables and still having trouble digesting. So um I would say, but they also have like the foods that we're used to in the US. So there's like a Pizza Hut, there's like a Burger King, you know, but nobody really goes there except foreigners, honestly.
Who were the foreigners that you saw most often in Albania? Like, what country were they from?
A lot. So Italy is very close, so there's a decent population of Italians. A lot of Albanians also speak Italian. I think at one point in their history, Italy colonized Albania. I could be wrong, not a historian. But lots of Italians. There's also a lot of white Americans. Um, there's quite a few Europeans, but it's still primarily Albanians. I think in recent years they've had a lot of tourism, but usually the tourists don't stay in the main city of Tirana. They'll go to the beaches, which is like in the south, or they'll go somewhere up north.
Okay. And you were living in Tirana when you were there, right?
Primarily, yeah.
And explain for those of us who don't know geography, explain where Tirana is in the country.
Tirana is, so it's the main city, and it's kind of, it has a little bit of everything. So like you drive 30 minutes and you'll see mountains. You'll drive down to the south, you'll see the beaches. It's closer to so like in the south is where the border leading into Greece. So a lot of people will arrive in Tirana and then drive down, and then they can actually drive into Greece or take a ferry into Greece.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't know. I'm also bad at geography. I'm a writer.
Point to it.
It's like up here, and then everywhere else is like over here.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
Nice.
Perfect. And did you like Tirana?
I did, but my favorite city is Barat. It's called Barat. Well, I'm probably saying it wrong, but it's Barat, and they call it the city of 1,000 windows because like they built on the mountainside, and so it's just gorgeous. Like take your breath away, gorgeous. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot to say this too. When you were asking me about foreigners, there is a small population of people from Africa who are there because what happens is like the sports teams will get players from different countries to come and play for Albania. So like you'll see a lot of football, soccer players, or volleyball players or basketball players who are from African countries, but come to Tirana to play.
Okay. And are they coming like solo, or are they bringing like community with them, like family or friends? Do you know?
It really
like,
depends. The ones that I've met one who was married and he brought his wife with him. But I've also met others who are like just by themselves, and sometimes they're young and so they don't have any, children or anything like that. So there's a small community.
Okay. All right. Okay. I was trying to think of like the worker category that would fall into like they're they're workers. They are on like a special visa. You know what the
exactly it.
Idea of like a special skill. They have a special skill. But speaking of visas, you can stay in Albania for a long time, right? As an American?
Yeah, as an American, you get visa on arrival and you can stay for a year.
Okay. All right. Is that something you would think about doing in the future?
Yes.
Do you know if it's...
I have one friend who has residency, but she's been in Albania for, I want to say like 5-6 years. And so she got residency on her 3rd year there. And I think it's like a fairly easy process. But she also, because she's been there for so long, she had a friend who was a lawyer who handled the paperwork for her. And now she's a citizen or a resident, whatever.
Okay. And would you be interested in going through that process?
Probably. Because it's not one of those like golden visa places, so you don't need a lot of money in the bank. But you do need, I don't want to say a number because I don't want to get it wrong, but the process from what I hear is fairly easy and it's also affordable. So
Okay.
I don't see why not.
Was it easy to travel from Albania to other countries?
Depends on where you're going.
Okay.
Because getting to South Africa was kind of difficult. But as far as like getting to other European countries, it was extremely easy and also extremely affordable.
Okay. So like you're getting directs to other countries that you want to go to from Albania? Or other European countries?
It depends what airline you're flying. So like I had a friend from UK, she caught like a $27 flight from the UK to Albania. But it was one of those like rush sales kind of thing, like you have to watch for it. I think for me, and this was me flying with dogs, I want to say the most I paid for a ticket was probably like 100, and then my dog were a separate fee, so it was probably like maybe, I don't know. They charge me different things. That's another thing. So like because Albania is so I don't know the word, but sometimes you'll get different prices and there's no real official price when you're an American.
Okay, like at the airport, someone just tells you a number?
Yes.
Are you expected to pay when you hear that number? Is that money going in someone's pocket or is that really going to the airline?
I mean, they use a card machine. So
Okay.
I feel like, but I know for sure, like when I first left last year, they charged me to fly my dogs. They charged me 150 euros to fly them. But then this time when I left Albania with my dogs, I got charged 500 euros. And so part of that, right, significantly different. And so part of it could be, I think that prices in Albania are going up. But I also wonder, that's what I'm saying. Like, I also wonder, like, were these people just overcharging me? In which case, what can I do?
What can you do? When I was leaving the Zimbabwe airport, the man told me a price and then a different price. And then I had to pay it in cash. I couldn't pay it by card. And I couldn't hand him the money directly where anyone else could see it. And I was like, just let me put it in your pocket, dog. Let me just put it in your pocket. Like,
I'll just give it to you. How about that?
Like, well, no, slide. And I was like, oh, sir. Sir, I'm not even sure this is a real fee. What you're telling me I have to pay, because like, whatever. But at least you could pay it with a credit card. Because telling me 500 as an increase from 150 is crazy.
It's ridiculous.
But what do you do? What do you do? All right, because you don't want to leave your dogs behind, do you? You're not gonna leave them yet.
You really can't do anything sometimes. I mean, I think, yeah, you can haggle, but sometimes it's just not worth it. And then on travel days, I'm so like, I get so anxious that I'm just like, whatever, take it, whatever. What did Adelia says, like, you have to have oh shit money. Oh, can I curse? Well, you have to have oh money.
Ruined the whole video. Interview over.
But I always keep like a little money on the side for crazy events, because I've run into a few crazy events, right? So I'm like, I need a nest egg that can go directly to this.
Okay. All right. Let me get some of the questions that have been asked specifically about Albania. Kay wants to know, were there any culture shocks?
I mean, getting stared at is pretty intense. Like, if you're not accustomed to it, even if you are accustomed to it, Albanian people will be all in your face, like unabashedly. And I mean, as I said, they don't mean any harm, but they're just like all the time. And I'm like at the grocery store, you know, at my local Conad buying fruit, and people are just like in my face, in my business. So that was a bit much.
Like in your face, like, what are you doing here? What's going on?
It's a curious look. Like, it's like, oh, we have Black people now. Like, oh wow, we made it. We got but what I started to do was like I'll engage them in conversation. and then it's like I think people are open up to you more when they realize that you're not like um unapproachable maybe. So it's like if I find someone staring at me, I'm like, hi, hi, okay, what's up? You know, it's usually like an older person as well. Um, so that's not that big of a deal. I think I'm trying to think, is there another culture shock? Nothing is digital, not really there. Everything you have to pay mostly by cash. Um, even like processing times to have things done, like shipping is difficult because there's no real address when you're living in a place. It's always like, oh, I'm at the orange building by the stoplight. Walk down through paces. Like you have to give those kinds of instructions. And then often, like especially with delivery drivers, they don't even speak English. So you're just standing outside, like waving them down. That's a bit of a culture because
Okay.
the whole point of food delivery is I don't want to talk to people, but like you have to talk to someone in Albania.
Oh, okay? You have to talk to someone who grew up there and lives there their whole life. Would they have to talk to someone?
They would also have to talk to someone because there's no addresses. So unless it's so you would
Okay,
have to direct your delivery driver.
okay. So is that? I guess my question is: are you using an app for this kind of thing, or are you calling someone on the phone?
Oh yeah, so they will call you
Mm-hmm.
on the phone and not
Mm-hmm.
know English, and then
Fun,
try to talk to you. So what
fun.
I would do is say, text me, or I'll text you, and or I'll say, or I'll just, if they're not understanding when I say text, I'll just hang up and then text them in Albanian using Google Translate on
Okay.
what. Yeah,
Okay. All right. Um, did you learn any Albanian?
a little bit, a little touch.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
hi.
Is it
Everything is right. Okay, so you learned a little bit. Say something to us in Albanian.
Falaminderi?
Swasa Salamandeti?
Falaminderi means thank you.
Okay.
Or Albanians always say like shumir, shumir means like okay, good, good, good.
Okay. All right.
I took some Albanian lessons. I was not a very good student, but I tried. So
Okay. You can. All right. Okay. So you've learned a little bit of Albanian. You can message someone in Albanian using Google Translate. Did you have to know? Did not knowing a lot of Albanian mean that you had a hard time getting through your day to day, or did a majority of people speak English?
no and no. So,
Okay. Tell us
so
more.
I think what's good about Albanian people is they want to communicate with you. So if they notice that there's a language barrier, I've had people start switching to Italian. Like, no, sorry, I'm American. I only got one language.
Okay.
So what they'll do is they'll pull their young cousin or their young nephew or somebody who they'll find a child in the grocery store who probably knows English because
Mhm.
younger people tend to know English. And they'll tell that person what they want to say to me. I've had that happen several times. Or you just use your hands. You'd be like, listen, I want something this big, this much, and they really try to work with you. Um, or they'll just go find an English speaker also.
Okay. So
Yeah.
there are enough English speakers that you can get by,
Yeah.
even if you don't know any Albanian.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, it doesn't hinder you in a way because there's just this willingness to work with you. They understand that you don't speak their language, and there's a like the lady who worked at the local bakery. She and I never understood one another, but she always knew I came in for tres leches, and I knew how much it cost. They Albanians believe that they came up with tres leches. That's something I learned. And I love it. And so she always knew that I come in, I get this same thing, and we've had this situation where I was like, how much is that? And she took my money, she gave me change. And so like we had this understanding because people in your neighborhood know who you are just because you're the only Black person on this street in this neighborhood. So they know, they know me, they know my 2 dogs. They know.
Tres leches? For real?
Yes. It was introduced to me as a traditional Albanian dessert. And I was like, well, I'm not going to tell you. But
Okay. All right. Any other culture shocks?
I mean, so when I did go clubbing, they don't really dance. They just kind of like stand around, which I'm fine with. I don't like clubbing that much. So I love a stand around and sip, you know? But it was nice, but people weren't moving. They weren't, it was just like there's music and no one's dancing. Everyone's just standing there.
I heard you kids don't dance in the clubs anymore. You just stand around. I heard that was
I
universal.
didn't know, it's too extroverted for me to even have that information.
So like we need you to go to a club in Dallas this weekend and find out for us.
So they don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
Okay. All right. Okay. How do you know it's an Albanian thing versus a generational thing?
Maybe it's a generational thing.
Do some more research and come back.
I can ask people.
Ask. Okay, that's fine. Ask. You have homework now. All right. What's the cost of living in Albania?
Affordable, but again, like with more tourists coming, the prices are going up. And I would say like, so the first time I went to Albania was last summer, and I came back last winter, stayed there for 3 months. So I left maybe, what month are we in? We're in April now. I left maybe sometime in early March, and prices had gone up, right? So again, less than the US prices, but still for Albania, pretty significant. Like I paid $3 for an avocado. I was like, what? $3 avocado?
Where do their avocados come from?
I don't know. This is high level information. I have no idea. But again, it could be like maybe an avocado was imported and that's why it costs more. Like there's that. It's also where you choose to do your grocery shopping. So like going to a place like a Conad, they usually have a lot of imported products. So it costs a bit more. Whereas like you could go to your local, vegetable seller that just has like a little stall and you'll get better prices.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for like what was your apartment like on this last go round?
I wasn't happy with my apartment last time. But I picked a place that was closer to the city center, and so that matters. And I feel like with the way things are going, getting a place that's closer to the city center is going to cost more than it used to. Because I think like way back, maybe not even way back, but like early last year, you can find an apartment for like 300 euros. That's city center. And it's furnished and it's affordable. But like when I was there recently, they were charging outrageous price. And I mean, again, this is the Black price. This is the Black American price. If you have I know a person who they have an Albanian friend, they send their Albanian friend to go negotiate, to go look at the place for them, and they get a completely different price. Right. So to be close to the city center, you're going to pay more.
What does more look like these days?
You could pay
for a one-bedroom apartment.
You could pay anywhere from like 700 to 1,000 euros a month.
Okay.
If you have, what I would recommend, get an Airbnb. Like if you know you're going to stay there for long term, start off with just an Airbnb just because it's simpler, but then really network and see, like look on Facebook and see if there's anybody offering places. Another thing is a lot of people will want you to pay a year's lease, like, oh, it's only going to be I don't know, 450 euros a month, but you have to be locked in for a year. It's very expensive. Especially because I think a few years ago, people were only paying like 200 euros for a place in the city center. Now it's like more expensive. Again, this is for Tirana, which is their main city. So if you go to places like Barat, I stayed in Barat for like a week and it was 50 euros. And I stayed on the mountainside with this old family, and they had a small garden with olives. They made me wine, they made me cheese. But this is outside the city center.
Okay.
Also, if you go somewhere towards where the beach is, you can find cheaper places. If you go to the north, you can find cheaper places, but in the city center, it's getting more expensive.
Okay, I was looking something up. I did a video, but I think included Albania as a place you could live for under $1,000 a month, which isn't sounding realistic these days. But that was 2 years ago.
If you search for a place, it's possible.
Okay.
If you have, when you go there, make friends with Albanians. You will have a different experience, I think, than if you stay in your bubble.
Okay. Were you able to make Albanian friends?
Yeah. They're nice, but it's hard to like maintain a relationship when you're like traveling. I don't think I connected with anybody on like I don't call everybody my friend. They're nice people. So like if you're an extroverted person, you'll meet people. But I'm just saying, like, for me, because I'm like introverted and maybe I'm not good at making friends.
This wasn't a
It was a deep question.
We don't have to do any there's no self-reflection needed on that question. None at all.
Okay. Everything is analysis. Okay.
No, doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be. We don't have to do that. All right. We're gonna ask a question that is not analysis. Let's talk about the weather. What's the weather like?
It's nice. It can get deathly hot in the summer.
Describe that in a little more detail. What is deathly hot?
To where like you only want to walk outside in your drawers because it's so hot.
Okay. Is it humid as well?
Yes. Well, it also depends on where you are in the country, but it can be humid. It can be very hot. There's not a lot of like overhead shade because it's sort of developing. So there's not like a ton of sky rises or anything to protect you from the sun. But it only stays like very hot, I would say, until like the heart of the summer, right? So you go there in June, July, it's gonna be very hot. But then you go in like September and it's not that bad.
Yeah. Okay. What's not that bad?
Well, in my opinion, it never gets to be very cold it never gets to be very cold. It's always kind of like, okay, so I'm from New Orleans. So like in New Orleans, it's never an ice age. It's always going to be kind of like, oh, okay, I'll put on a jacket today, or I may even put on a coat, but it's not cold enough to where you need to be bundled up, like where there's snow. And but it does get very hot in the summer. And then I would say the climate is similar to New Orleans, where it's kind of like humid and where the heat could almost feel like walking through a hot water, like a hot body of water.
Okay, so this is what I was getting at. RW asked the same question.
More humid than Malaysia. I've never been to Malaysia.
Okay, we need to ask Wanda.
But I would say not, because isn't Malaysia like surrounded by water?
Yes, but also
that.
But like Malaysia was like walking through, like you walk outside and like your lady bits are damp.
That's how it is. That's how it is in New Orleans. That's how it is.
Okay, but it's not like that. But yes, it's not like that in Malaysia was worse than New Orleans. I've been to New Orleans a few times. Malaysia was worse.
Okay, then no. Not like Asia at all.
It's not like that. Okay, all right.
No.
Please, we can only take so much. All right. No. What is the most appealing thing about Albania to you?
To me? I like how simple life is. Like, it's just very simple. It's easy to get adjusted to adapt. Like, I could see myself living the life that I live in Texas in Albania.
Okay. What is the least appealing thing to you about Albania?
The lack of technological advances. Sometimes I hate it. Like, sometimes I just want to pay with my card.
I'm laughing because she's using her phone as a hotspot to stream because her internet at home not working.
It's ghetto.
I'm laughing.
Yes, US
I'm
is
laughing at you. Talk about technological advancements. Well, you don't even have Wi-Fi that works decently. Hello.
Well, you know what?
Hello. All right, we will move on. I'm so sorry. Did I make that awkward?
No, just, I'm used to it. So.
Okay, so the technological advancements. You want to use your card. You want to tap your card and go, huh?
My card. I want to go like London. Like London, just tap everywhere. Tap, tap, tap.
In Toronto, they're like, "Where'd I cash at?"
Yeah, they're.
Oh, go ahead.
Cash. No, like only cash. Like I've had to walk away from things because they only accept cash.
Okay. What about transportation? What was that like?
So I'm a walker, so I walk a lot, but I am not above taking a taxi. So I usually try to use public transport when I was in Europe, but in Albania, it just didn't make sense to do it because the one time I took the bus, number one, it was in the summer. It was very hot. There was no AC on the bus. Okay. The bus is old. They're old buses from like they're pre-communist era. So these are like old buses. There's no AC. And then also, Albanian people are real like laid back, right? Like laissez-faire. So yes, there is a schedule, but we're gonna get there when we get there. Exactly. So I had the bus driver took a smoke break and left us all in that hot bus. He was chilling. He was chatting with his friend. I was like, okay, I don't have time for this. I mean,
like at a bus depot, or he just pulled over on the road?
He just pulled over. I don't know where we were. It wasn't a stop that was on the, and that's another thing. Like the bus schedules, you have to it's like finding the magic treasure.
Wait, I want to understand this properly. Was this like an in-town bus or like was it like going to different cities? This was just a bus.
No, this was just a bus I was getting from
not a long distance bus.
It was not a long distance bus.
It was just the city bus driver was like, I've been driving for 55 minutes and it's time for my smoke break. And pulled over?
Yes.
Boop, boop.
Yes.
And then got out of the
I was just like, I can't
got out of the bus to smoke. That was polite.
I guess. I mean, they will light up in front of you. They don't care about that. But at least at least he got out of the bus. But that was my first and last time. I know people who use the public transport. I know people who take the buses to go to different cities. I just would rather rent a car and drive. And the thing is too is like taxis are pretty affordable. So like a taxi ride to where I was staying could be under 1,000 lek, which is it's like the equivalent of $10. So I don't mind just spending $10 if I don't want to walk. If I'm going to another place, if I rent a car, it depends. People will give you different quotes, but like to rent a car, you could be renting for like $20 a day, which is not that bad. So I'll just rent a car.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm thinking about there's a bus depot close to where I live in Mexico. It's like a central bus depot. So it's a direct bus to my apartment. So it's typically where I pick up a bus. But every time I go there, I can tell who hasn't gotten on a bus here before. No, there are 1,000 buses, and I never know. I can take probably 20 of these 1,000 buses home. I don't know where 18 of them are. I don't know where 19 of them are, but I know where one is. But the one where I know where it is, baby, they park the bus. The bus driver gets off the bus. There will be 3 of the same buses that run the exact same route. And they all sit there and wait. And somebody cleans, and somebody smokes, and somebody chats. And it'll literally be like 45 minutes of you sitting there while their bus is there 45 minutes of you just wait. And the bus is supposed to run every 10 minutes. But how can it run every 10 minutes if we've been standing here for 45 minutes, no one's let? Like, you're not on. And then when they leave, it's wait another 45. And I'm like, the bus does not go, like the bus on its route is like an every 10-minute bus. So why are we 45 minutes between takeoffs here? So you can always see the new people, because I'm sure you were probably like that on the bus. The new people
looking at the clock. Well, and then it's also
going on. Why? And I'm just like, yeah, girl, that's just what we do. We just wait here for the bus. We know.
Yes. And then there's a language barrier. So you're like looking at the schedule, trying to figure out, like, do I ask for help? Am I on the wrong place? Is this right?
I thought you were looking at the window like, what is going on? Are we still going?
What is going on?
Is this the final destination? What's happening here?
Yes.
It's hard to get used to. I'm laughing because that bus, you can always see the new people because they're like, what is, and you're just like, no, girl, just chill.
Just chill, we waiting. That's what I thought about. Something I learned while traveling was waiting, like being comfortable waiting, right?
Right. Yeah. Is it raining? Are you waiting in the rain while there are 4 buses over there that could take you home? Yes. What else
you better do? You better get out and get a coffee like your bus driver did. You better get out and you better chill.
Listen, I said, what? It still make, I don't even understand how the bus leaves the depot every 45 minutes if it's on a 10-minute schedule. How? Where are they losing time, making up time? What's happening? What's happening, and why is it happening to me? I got to figure out the other bus. Actually, I got to figure out the other buses at that depot, but it's kind of a joke that like no one. I think it's the kind of thing where if you've lived there your entire life, you're like, oh yeah, you just go. They're all purple. They're all the same color. They don't have any markings on the window of them saying where they're going or what like number route they are.
Just vibes.
You just have to go to where your bus leaves from and get on the bus that's there, like the part of the station, because it's the big concrete spread out thing. So you go to the right stand and get on the bus at the right stand. But if y'all don't have any names or notes or anything, how do I know?
How do I know I'm getting on the right bus?
I'm willing to take the chance, but if I can make it to the right stand, I'm going to get on the right bus. I'm willing to chance that. But how do I know what the right stand? I just have to ask strangers because there's no
all the buses.
There's no choice. I just got to ride all the buses. See where this one takes me today.
Exactly.
Where's it going? What's happening? So buses I prefer when I'm traveling in areas that I don't know, I much prefer trains and trolleys to city buses. City buses make me nervous because of that, where I'm like, maybe you follow a route, maybe you don't. Can I follow you do I know where we're going on the map? I don't, even the ones at home, I'd be like, we're heading in the direction we're supposed to be going in, but we're not on the street we're supposed to be. What's going to happen next? I'm looking at the map on my phone, like, what's
like one of those choose your own adventures. Like, I don't want to. I have anxiety. I can't.
Like, trolley me or train me, because I know we don't listen. If it's local, we're going to stop at all the stations. I know where I am. I can see the side. Oh, that's the other thing at bus stops. When like, if you don't have it, like now it's on our phones, it's a lot easier. But before, it's like, is this am I on the corner of Robertson and Figueroa, or am I somewhere else? I don't know. I can't see the sign.
I can't see the sign. Yeah.
I don't know where I am. Anywho. Public transportation trauma. All right. So you wish that you could just pay with a credit card. Transportation has not been that easy. But what I really was asking about transportation, I wanted to get into the taxi issue, because I find that for me, judge me if you want, I prefer a city where I don't have to deal with taxi drivers, especially unmetered taxi drivers. I don't want it. I'm not living in a city where like if I can't public transportation it or Uber it, I'm not. That's why a lot of the beach cities in Mexico, not for me. A taxi, like in the Quintana Roo. I know people who live there and were like, I couldn't live there anymore. And when they say why, it's the taxis were half the reason. Because like, what is this number you're telling me? You're just
Yeah,
making them. You're making them numbers.
it's
You're just
different
you're
every time.
bored, or you're making them numbers. I don't know what this is, right? And so, what was your experience with pricing as far as taxis and transportation go?
I mean, it's different every taxi that you get into. They have meters.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they use them. Mostly they don't. What's interesting to me is the number that, if they're using a meter, the number that they start off with, I've noticed can be different.
Okay.
I had, well, another thing is, it's like once you've gone the first time and you go back. So for me, I knew how much I paid the first time I went, and so like to and from the airport, I paid one price, and then when I was leaving most recently, the guy quoted me a price, and I was like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And you can go back and forth with them. And he was really trying to. And he's like, oh, I'll give you a deal. I'll give you your price. It's like, it's not a deal. I had to haggle you for it. You're trying to give me the American price. But again, like, especially Tirana is very small. The cities in Albania are very small. So like if you're a walker, you can walk. I would prefer to walk. Some people ride bikes. I would not. The streets are not very, the sidewalks, they don't have the environment that makes bike riding or scooter riding great.
Okay.
Some people do, but
all right. Celeste brought up an interesting fact, which, like most of Monte Ecuador, taxes are $1 per day and $2 at night. Yes, please, thank you. Even if you're, see, that's the thing about me. I don't mind being overcharged if there's a standard, right? If it's $5 a day every day and $10 at night, yes, right? That's okay. Just don't let me get in a taxi. You talking about it's $300 to get where I want to go.
Yeah,
like
I think because there's like so many foreigners coming that they're seeing. I think they're in a space right now where they're seeing what foreigners are willing to pay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I get from it.
Yeah, but most foreigners aren't going to be like you, who are going to tell the guy his price is crazy. They're just going to, because they haven't done that before.
Right.
So it's okay. So I feel like it's a really tough position to be in when we talk about gentrification. I know there's someone asked a specific question about that. Alicia, aside from knowing what local prices are and negotiating when appropriate and declining services exceeding local prices, how else can we play our part, do our part to not play into gentrification? And what I was saying was related to that, in that it's really hard because you come to a place, right, and you don't know what you're supposed to be charged, so you pay what you're charged, and all of a sudden you're the bad guy for gentrifying.
Right.
And it's like, the taxi driver is trying to get over, like the taxi driver is the person who is at fault if there's a fault, right? Some people are going to say that the taxi driver should be able to, you know what I mean? If someone will pay it, I hear this a lot, especially when it comes to the rental market. If someone's willing to pay it, it would be wrong for the person not to charge them that money. And it's like, well, then you can't expect gentrification not to be present if the whole point is everyone is going to charge as much as possible, as much as they think someone will pay, right? Like if the price changes based on who is paying,
right,
you're going to see the prices going up, right? Because someone's always, and it may not always be a foreigner, but someone's always going to be able to pay more.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a really hard position to be in.
It's difficult. And then I also think there are Albanians who will pay the higher price, right? Mm-hmm. Because they have an understanding that, my impression was, Albanians are on the up and up. Mm-hmm. There's a class of Albanians that are on the up and up. They want to be accepted into the Schengen. They want to be a part of the EU. They want to be seen as they want to be seen as like a Greece. They want to be seen as like a Croatia, like a place where people can come to. And they've been putting a lot of resources towards building up the country in a way that is marketable for Europeans or for other foreigners to come and vacation. So there's not really a lot that you can do just as a regular traveler who's like, I just want to come here and experience another way of life. I don't have a boatload of money. There's really not a lot that you can do except educate yourself and learn about your environment, learn from the people who live there, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, and then using those tools and those people to get fair pricing.
Yeah. I yes, and it's unfortunate that the responsibility is put on the foreigner.
Yeah.
To find a friend, to go look at an apartment, to negotiate a good price as the face, as the front, right? And then if you haven't done that, if you haven't found a friend, if you go on your own and you're charged more money because you appear to be a foreigner and the assumptions that you can afford it, then you become the bad guy gentrifier. And there's something about that is like, I get it. And then I also think people often underestimate how problematic that viewpoint by itself is. Like, I get that, like, yes, gentrification is real. And a lot of times gentrification is intentional. And there are times where gentrification isn't something foreigners are doing, but something that's happening to foreigners. And I don't want to sound like the foreigners don't have a role in that. My point is that there's a lot of of work we have to do to hide who we are, to get a local price, to then be told, if you didn't do that work, if you didn't do the work to get the good price, you were in the wrong, as opposed to the person who was overcharging you because I thought you could afford it, was in the wrong, right? So challenging. I find those conversations very challenging.
We can't fight capitalism. Okay. I'm trying to relax. Because I think in a place like Albania, especially, oftentimes when we hear about gentrification, it is about the whitewashing of areas that are predominantly Black and have predominantly Black cultural spaces in them, right? But also when we look at a place like Albania, which is this is a European country, it just wants to be on the same level as other European countries who so happen to be oppressors, whatever. But it's almost not quite the same thing, but it is the same thing, if that makes sense. Because when foreigners come into a new place, like, yeah, like they want a yoga studio. Yeah, they want froyo. They want, sidewalks that are sidewalks, not jagged edges of street. So like there's certain things that are added into this country to make it livable, but it's also not, I'm sorry, I don't want to use that word, to make it more appealing for foreigners. But at the same time, I don't know, is this the natural progression in a way of a country?
I guess my question would be, who is doing the things? So who wants to attract the foreigners, right? And who is doing the things to make the city more attractive to foreigners, right? If a lot of the gentrification conversation is pointing the finger, right? Who's at fault? Adelia sent me something the other day, which was about a sign of gentrification was at this Mexican restaurant, this Mexican sidewalk stand, added an English menu to their menu. They just added English translations. And this was on the news, a sign of gentrification. And it's like the restaurant is trying to attract the foreigners didn't say, until you have an English menu, we're not coming here, right? They didn't say, you will not get my US dollars, which they're not going to get anyway, right? You're not going to get my hard-earned money until you put this in English. No, the restaurant was trying to attract English-speaking customers. And so they did that. And the finger that gets pointed is, look how foreigners are ruining the city. And it's like, no, the restaurant made a choice. Like, they
Exactly.
made a choice to attract the customers that they, as a business, think they want. So pointing and saying, look how our city's being ruined by the addition of English language because the foreigners are doing this. It's like, it's not really, it's not a nuanced conversation. It doesn't have enough depth, right? Like,
Yeah.
what are we really talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so Chanel, I think, summarizes this. If this could be put into a sentence, this is the sentence. I don't know if it can be put totally into a sentence, but this is some of it, right? If I move in and the landlord charges me more, the problem is greed and capitalism, which is the part of a conversation, but it's ignored so frequently. It is,
Right.
especially when we're talking about foreign countries and countries that are often treated as like less than, right? Or often is the greed and the capitalism is ignored. If I move in and I call the cops because neighborhood block party is loud, the problem is me. Yes, that is true. And so when I see things like a restaurant adding a Spanish English translation, I'm like, that the neighbors a foreigner didn't say, how dare you not have English on the menu? I'm not coming here, right? They didn't call the cops on them for not having English. Someone was trying to attract their business, and so they put English on the menu. Ta-da, right? Like,
Right.
it doesn't make sense to be mad at foreigners for that.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense to be mad when they're complaining about like the noise or something else. But thank you, Chanel, for giving us that one.
Yeah.
So there was another comment from Celeste, related. Because you said prices are going up due to influx of foreigners, the Albanians seem to have an attitude with the foreigners.
No, they love Americans. I don't know how they feel about other foreigners. They love Americans. Okay. And they think that if you're a Black American, you're like suddenly cool. They want to ask you about what's going on with Kanye. They want to play Jay-Z. Like, I had a taxi driver be like, "You're American. I love American." And then he put on Jay-Z and I was like, okay, like, is this a safe space? I don't know. They don't have, I think honestly everybody is on one accord. They want to see Albania progress to be a country that is on the same playing field as other European nations, and they know that we have an interesting relationship with the country, because our presidents have sort of interfered in their politics in a way that was beneficial to the general population. Do your Googles. But they love George Bush. They have children. There are children named Clinton out there.
Wait, which Bush do they love? Is it both of them?
The first one.
Oh, okay.
They have a street named. They love George Bush. They love Clinton. They love our presidents. And so they love Americans. I've had an old Albanian man who didn't speak any English grab my hand and tell me how much he loved America. So do what you will with that information.
Okay. All right. Okay, so you get some cool credits just by being a Black American, but they're also a bit in your face because they probably haven't seen one of your kind that week.
Yes.
What's she buying? Look at her basket.
Yes.
Look at her basket. What is she getting? Oh, she's getting that bad cheese. Look at that cheese. Okay, so where else were you in Europe?
Oh, I bopped. I was in, like I said, UK, Ireland, love Ireland. I was in Spain, Germany, France, Denmark, Austria. Is that everywhere? Yeah. Yeah. I was all over. I was all over.
Well, you mentioned you loved Ireland, but what was your favorite country when you were bopping around?
Ireland. Irish people are nice. Irish and Scottish people. Oh my God, I met a man when I was coming back. When I was coming back to the US, there was this Scottish man who tried to chat me up, and I was like, "Oh my God, I have to like bring my dog to the pet relief area." But he was just so friendly and was like, "Let's go get a drink," and like blah blah. Like they're just so kind and nice. And I've said this before, I love a juice box, and they have juice boxes in Ireland and Scotland. So
I'm so sorry. Is juice box code for something?
juice box is just like a big guy. Like I like big guys.
Wait, I've literally never heard anyone say that before.
Is that not a thing?
Juice box? Okay, I'm hitting Googles.
Matt, no, I've been saying juice box. That's what I mean. Like a big, like broad shouldered, you know.
I've literally never heard that before. Okay, I need someone in the comments to tell me if you've ever called a broad-shouldered man a juice box.
Maybe I just know language.
Where are you from? Where are you from if you have how old you are and where are you from if you've ever called someone a juice box before? Because baby, I was like, is she talking about drugs? What is she talking about? What's a juice box? A juice box?
A juice box.
Like I get it now, like now that you said it. But listen, your sisters are not really.
No one gets it. No one understands. You're thinking.
Oh, JG wants you to know that as a lesbian, that's not what juice box.
Really? Now I need to Google. I don't mean a literal juice box, guys. Oh my gosh.
Woo! Okay, so no, I thought that was okay. So Angela Rochelle says she thought that was what you're calling juice box. She would call it teddy bear, but I'm not even sure are those the same things, or is a teddy bear softer than a juice box?
I like teddy bear adjacent. Maybe I like somewhere between a teddy box doesn't make sense. But I like the aesthetic of a teddy bear, like a hairy man who likes cuddles. But I love a good, like, I just love a good, like, just broad back guy who probably lifts weights and eats meat.
A soft, strong back. Like, if it said a strong back, I would have been like, okay, I got you. But a juice box, I have never heard.
Maybe it's just my word. It's just my word. I know what I mean.
The way you said it, though, I was like, I don't know. Everybody knows. But the ladies are not with you. I'm so sorry.
She said that's a juice head.
Okay, so whew, yes.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so it's a juice box appreciation hour, but none of us have ever heard a boxed teddy. Phoenix flipped it around. Okay.
Maybe a box.
A juicy bear. I don't know how we got here, but we are here, y'all. We're here.
We've made it.
Okay. All right. Oh yeah. Get Right with Monica says, I know juice box to mean lady parts.
Oh wow. I wonder if people have thought that I'm like,
Oh, Wendy Day's coming with something new. I thought they were called cinnamon rolls. That's what they're called in romance books.
I like that.
I had never considered. Wait, is cinnamon rolls specific to people from that, like Ireland and Scotland, because of like the reddishness? That's not a word. Or is that like simply body type? Let me know, Wendy Days. I have questions.
Let us know.
Yes. Listen, the juice box got the ladies. They weren't typing before. They're in the comments now.
Juice box lit up the chat.
Okay.
Abba says she likes juice in general. Y'all are cutting up.
All right. So Olayinka says she's gonna start using the phrase. It's the juice box hour now.
One person.
Okay. So I will be in Ireland, Scotland in a few weeks, so I will be looking out for juice boxes. And Winnie Day says that's the type, cinnamon rolls are the type of man. Okay, so I'll be looking for juice boxes. in Ireland and Scotland. Tell me more about what you liked about Ireland.
I mean, I think the people made it a big yes for me. But also, Ireland was the second country I had been to. And it kind of reminded me of home. Like I stayed in Dublin and we're like right next to, I want to say some kind of lake. And I would walk along the lake in the morning. I'd be like, oh my God, this reminds me of being back home. I can smell the water in the air. I just enjoyed it there. It was just very peaceful and gorgeous. And there's like, you travel to different parts and there's different terrains. I'm gonna go back to Ireland.
Okay. Now that we've covered Ireland
What are you gonna say?
and the people,
What are you gonna say?
let's talk about dating.
Okay.
How much dating did you do on this extravaganza?
A lot. And I think, okay. And I think we need to clarify what dating means because I've received a lot of interesting feedback. So for me, when I say dating, that means I went out on a date. I went out with a gentleman caller
Mm-hmm.
and I had a time. It does not mean I was laying it low and spreading it wide. It does not mean this was my boyfriend.
Sorry.
This was just a man who took me out. Okay. Okay. As I was traveling my year abroad,
Whisper in my ear real quick.
what are you going to say?
Did you lay it low and spread it wide?
I did lay it low and spread it wide. We're not sharing it. No, we're not sharing it.
All right. Okay. Anyway, back to what we're talking about.
But
Okay.
I tried to date in every country
Okay.
that I've been to. Maybe not when I went to Morocco and South Africa because I wasn't there long enough. But I tried to date in every country.
Okay. Do you have one for this part of your? Where have you had the best date? Not like the man was.
No, like the time.
The time. Where did you have the best? She had
Okay.
a time.
Controversial statement. UK was the best. Just
Really?
because, yes. Wait, I'm gonna say it because okay. Everybody knows, like in the US, we're like in the midst of some sort of like gender wars where like the men folk don't like the women folk, and it's a lot of hoorah. In the US, I mean in the UK, there's a huge single population of men who like Black women and who will take you out on a date. Because I think that's two of the big hangups over here in the US. But I would say I've had like the best dates. So like I had a guy, I had never been to a play. He took me to a play. We had a nice dinner. I've had a few like just walk and talk dates where like guys have showed me around the city. I don't mind a walk and talk date, but like they also like I've had those kinds of date where like maybe we say we're meeting for coffee and it turns into an afternoon lunch and it turns into us walking around and doing whatever. Like I had a lot of those in the UK. I also had an experience where I was talking to a guy. He was in Manchester and he was visiting Spain, and we literally spent like 4 days hanging out in Spain and learning the city. That didn't happen, but we were spending time together, and it was just very nice. So I enjoyed the UK.
Okay. All right. Where did you have where did the men not know how to date? Anywhere?
I don't like dating in Spain. Because I don't know if it was the time that I was there. So I was in Barcelona and it was summertime, and I was seeing this guy who he just didn't have enough ambition for me. And then he was just like very casual. Like I always like men to be a little clear. with their intentions. Or even if your intention is like you just want to get laid, like just be upfront about it, but like I don't like guys who don't want to actively pursue me or who are just real like laid back when it comes to dating. Like no. Let's have a meal. If we're gonna like walk and talk, like you need to be engaging in conversation with me that like is good conversation. Don't be boring. So yeah, I don't know what it was, just one dude, but he didn't have a lot of ambition, and so he wasn't really for me. So
Okay.
yeah. I think another thing is when I was dating in Albania, I don't know how to tell this story. Okay, so like don't do this because it may not be safe, but I was going on dates with my Airbnb host. So he didn't live there. He owned that property. He owned like several properties. And so there were times when we were hanging out and I was like, is this a date? Like in my head, because he's not really pursuing me in the way that I'm used to. He would just be like, yeah, let's have dinner. Yeah, let's go to a party. And then it's like, but you kind of, like as a woman, you kind of know when a man is interested in you, but they don't make any moves. So there was that. I think part of it is because Albanians are they're like loose Muslims. So like sometimes they're very like traditional and respectful, but loose. Just
I don't know, like, because I've experienced that in so many different places where it's like we're a very, very buttoned down Muslim culture, and then you see them on the app, and it's like there's nothing.
Exactly.
You ain't got to lie to me, right? Like, what's happening here?
Exactly.
Loose, like that. It sounded weird when you said it, but I know exactly what you mean.
Yes. So yeah. So those were the experience of like Spain and Albania. It was just kind of like.
Okay. So someone I know married her Airbnb host, so that could have been.
I mean, it could have been the guy. He could have been the guy.
Could have been, but he wasn't, making the moves.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it sounds like a strategy.
Raynette, I always put your comment on the screen, and I was like, nah, somebody gonna come for me if I do that. But see Raynette's comments.
No, I don't know about that. I don't know. I'm not gonna respond.
I didn't say it. I don't know anything about that. Okay, so a couple things people want to get into before people have follow-up dating questions. I saw a few. Bump. How do you ensure your safety when dating? For example, when a man asks if you were there solo, it's always a bit cringe.
Yeah, I mean, I think also part of it is in some areas of Europe, it's not I don't know how to say this. So obviously I would lie. But I think in some areas of Europe, they're wondering like just why you're there. So like in Albania, I got often asked if I was traveling solo because they didn't know why I was there. And then Albanians are so family oriented that it was unfathomable that I would be traveling alone. So I would just say I wasn't. And then as far as ensuring my safety, I always like to tell people where I am. I leave my location on. My family has access to my location. They can't really do anything about it, but and then I think another thing is I try to be home by a certain time. I don't usually date at night unless it's like somewhere close to my Airbnb. I always find my way home. I don't let people bring me home. Even though a lot of people have tried. And I think, you just have to stay vigilant in the way that you would anywhere. So I'm dating in the same way that I would anywhere. You really can't tell who's a serial killer. They all look the same.
And they all look like serial killers. All right. How do you find these men to date? Online? If online, what app?
Yes, online. I like Bumble because you get to talk to men who are already initially interested in you. I think Hinge, you have to kind of like, I didn't get a lot of action on Hinge. Well, in the UK I did, but Bumble I like because I'm the one who has to reach out and they've already swiped on me. So I can see who has swiped on me already, and then I'll reach out. I've also been asked out in the wild. But because I'm awkward, I'm not good at navigating those situations. But I've been asked out in the wild before.
Okay. Did getting asked out in the wild lead to a date in real life?
Yes.
Okay. So you
What?
made it happen. You made it happen.
Yeah.
You made it happen. Okay. Yeah. All right. There are some questions about le pups. Let's talk about that real quick. How hard was it to take your dogs into the UK?
So in the UK, at one of the time I went, I couldn't fly my dogs in the cabin with me. And initially I was really apprehensive about having them fly in cargo. I don't feel that way anymore. So that we actually flew into Ireland, and I was able to have the dogs in cabin with me. But other than that, just make sure they have vaccinations, and it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. And is it easier to fly from the EU to Albania with your dogs than it is from the US to Albania?
I didn't fly directly from the US to Albania, but flying from Albania to the US was really easy. Nobody checked anything.
Was that pay the 500 euros though?
Yeah, I just had to pay the fine. They checked it initially at the airport, but it wasn't like there have been times when I've had difficulty traveling in the US with them. Like, for instance, we got rejected in Denmark when I was going to Germany. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. But as far as like getting into the EU with the dogs, or getting into the EU from Albania, that was easy.
Okay.
Was the difference in cost? It's more expensive to fly from the US or to the, it's more expensive to fly from the US to Europe, and from Europe to the US is more expensive than it is to fly intercontinentally in Europe.
I really wish, I don't know, like traveling, traveling in Europe is so easy. And then America is like, what is the system you gave us and why is it so terrible? Right?
Really, you really realize how difficult it is.
And then you go to Africa and it's like, okay, y'all did this on purpose so they can't get to each other, right? Like y'all created these systems on purpose to create separation because nothing else makes sense.
100%.
Nothing else. Like a lot of countries, you got to fly back to Europe to get like from one place in Africa to another place in Africa. You got to fly back to Europe, or to the Middle East, or pay an exorbitant amount, or like have your own private plane. How are these the answers?
What are people with the private planes? Where are they?
One of them is waiting for me in Ireland. He just doesn't know it yet. My friends, see you soon. Let me get on these apps, baby.
In the streets.
And you know the street is going to be like, I left my hotel room at 2 p.m. and I got back at 3:30. It was such a productive day. Yes.
No.
Yes, that's going to be it. All right. So whatever things we haven't talked about yet.
I don't know. We kind of covered everything.
You have a whole YouTube channel. So please don't act like you're not. Come on. Like you're not used to talking to people on the internet. Talk to the people.
I mean, I do have a whole YouTube channel. And oh my God, are you serious? So I have a YouTube channel, Awkward Black Nomad. I will be talking about dating. I'll be talking about traveling with my dogs. I'll be talking about traveling solo. If people are interested, I will talk about my profession. I do copywriting. I don't know what else to say. Subscribe to my channel. But she just left me. This is abandonment.
Is it?
Gosh. Oh my gosh.
I gave you the stage and made you the star of the moment.
Appreciate
Okay,
your love.
let's talk about how you support yourself in those expensive ass dogs.
I mean, part of the reason why it was so expensive is because I didn't want to take trains. I tried taking a train and it was just a little bit more difficult than I imagined. So I didn't want to take trains with them.
Because of the dogs or for a different reason?
I think there are people out there who have very well trained dogs. My dogs are not very well trained. They're sketchy,
Uh-huh.
so, and temperamental. So like, you know, you got to think about it like a toddler being in a new environment. My dogs don't like airports. They don't like train stations because there's a lot of noises and smells and people, right? So it just was too much of a hassle when sometimes it's like, okay, I can just throw you guys on a plane and then we could just be in the next country and it only takes us a couple hours.
Right.
Or in the case of when we got rejected in Denmark, I could rent a car and just drive into Germany and just cover that expense myself. What was the question? I was just babbling on.
Traveling with your dogs.
Yeah. So it's difficult, but I don't know. I imagine it being the same way if you had kids, right? Like it's just this is another part. This is an extension of me. This is just something that I've already had in my life. My dogs are 7 now, so I just cover that expense like I would normally anyways.
Okay.
Leaving them was not an option.
Leave your kids behind. You can leave your dogs behind.
That's why I say like leaving them is not an option. I've dumped men because they don't like dogs. It's that deep.
Okay. All right. I said expensive dogs because of how much you paid to fly them, not because the dogs themselves are expensive. Although, are they? Are they like expensive?
Like high class pooches.
Yes.
That's subjective.
She said, yes, they are, baby. I'm not going to brag on my babies on the internet, but they are pricey pooches. I see it. All right. No, we were actually talking about you being a writer. We're talking about how you support yourself.
Oh, yes.
Lifestyle.
Okay. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons I decided to come back to the US. So I'm a copywriter. A copywriter is someone I work in the marketing department usually of a company. I create brand messaging. I write blogs. I write web pages. I do search engine optimization to get your website found on Google. And for me, when I was traveling, working and living my life, it's kind of a hassle, right? So like I think in my next stage of life, I want to prepare to actually take a sabbatical, or find more clients and work for myself because I think that would be a lot easier. But yeah, that's what I do.
So the hassle was other people's schedules, or what was the hassle?
Yeah, so when I originally started traveling, I was working 2 full-time jobs remotely. And that was a lot, right? Because it's maintaining 2 work schedules, but then also being on the other side of the continent. And I quickly found out that that was not the tea. Like I did not want to be doing that long term. And now that I'm back in the US, I don't really like the work culture here. You know, like I think the idea of a working lunch is inhumane. Like so it's like, you know, I had this year of me traveling and seeing the way that other people live and how it's normal to have work-life balance in Europe. It's normal to like have a life outside of your job and it not be frowned upon. So now that I'm back in the US and it's everybody's hustling and grinding and I'm just like, I just want to go on a walk and have a bagel and drink my coffee. I'm just trying to chill, you know? Like these people, they want me to be like in a meeting at 8 a.m. I usually don't even start working until afternoon. Like that was my schedule. So I have my whole morning to myself. You know, like just there's different things that have changed. I think my viewpoint has changed a lot since traveling.
What are you going to do? No. Rewind. When you're in Dallas for a year,
Yeah.
it's just me and you. There's nobody else here. Lock out everybody else. It's just me and you. I've closed the chat window. I can't see it anymore. I hope you can't see it either. All right. It's just me and you. You want to be in the US for a year, right? And then when that year is over, do you want to bop a bit? Do you want to take a sabbatical? Do you want to bop and work, or do you want to take a sabbatical? What do you actually want your life to look like when you leave in a year?
I want to take a sabbatical. I think since I bopped, I don't know that I want to bop so heavily.
Okay.
Which is crazy because I stayed in places for like 1 to 3 months. And so for a lot of people, that's a long time. But for me, it was not long enough. I was still essentially living out of my suitcase. So when I start traveling, I would like to just have a place that feels like home, that feels like a base, but just not here.
Okay.
I need to figure out what that looks like. I'm already like stashing dough, right? Like I have my plan, but I need to be able to, if I do want to take the sabbatical, define how long it is and reasonably set a goal, a budget for myself.
Okay.
And then another thing too, because I think a lot of women in the Exodus community are either retired or approaching retirement. I'm a ways away, unfortunately. So I need to figure out like what that means, right? So like if I'm in this place where I don't want to be tied down by a work schedule, I need to look at what that means for me. If I like having that time freedom and location freedom.
So that was going to be my next question for you is, if it's a sabbatical, how long is it, and what do you want your life to look like after the sabbatical?
I haven't figured that out yet.
So you didn't ask, but I'm gonna give you a little hint of advice. It is mentally easier to leave for a sabbatical if you have some idea of what to expect on the back end, right? Because like if you're the kind of person that's okay being like, whatever happens, happens, right? If you're that kind of person, that is fine. But
my mental health is set up.
So like the reason I'm asking is that for you, like you're a copywriter, right? And you're kind of overworking for other people, right?
Yeah.
And so what would make sense is working for yourself, right? And you're working in a place now, like you have a life now where you could spend time to get clients. You could, right?
I could.
If you have this time now, but we're not using it for now. We're just working, right? We're not. Yeah. Are you trying to get your own clients now?
Not as actively as I could be.
Okay. So my thought is you take a sabbatical, you take a break for however long that is. And then when you're ready to work again, what does that look like for you? What's the transition? Are you transitioning into your own business? Are you transitioning back to a job for a while as like put a Band-Aid or like build a bridge for a little bit? Like what would it look like for you when the sabbatical is over? Not that I think you need a plan, like a concrete plan, but I think having ideas of paths you could walk down and what it would look down to walk down those paths and across those bridges could be really helpful for you, because you're like, a sabbatical sounds great, right? But if you're prepping for one, part of your prep has to be, what about the back end? Unless you're the kind of person that can say, I don't care about the back end, right?
No, and I'm so worried about, I'm also so worried about going back into the space I was before I left, right? Where I was overworked. And to be honest, I think I was burnt out and I didn't know it. I think I was just used to existing in madness, right? And so now that I'm in a similar environment, but not as intense as it used to be, I'm kind of like, oh, I can recognize every stress that's in my body. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I have been living for a year without feeling it.
Yes.
So now I'm like, oh, that neck pain is back. Oh, I'm like depressed now, and I don't know what triggered it. I do know what triggered it now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're a month and a half back into this, right?
Yeah.
A year from now, you might not be able to recognize those body signs as much.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that now was a really great time for you to make pick your exit date. Like, I'm only working until this date. And then I'm going to, you know what I mean? Because like now your brain is telling you like, it wasn't like this last month, but in 6 months is your body and your brain going to remember it wasn't like that 7 months ago? Or is your body going to be like, well, girl, this is how it is. We're like, what are we doing?
Right.
Can we get out of this bed today? What's happening?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I think planning on the back end, right? Of like not losing the momentum you gained in this is my new exciting life and I'd like to, do more of this. Not losing that momentum by working and forgetting what that freedom felt like is important, but also it's important that if you're going to transition from I do this work for other people to I do this work for other people who hire me and pay me a paycheck, right? I've been hired by a company, to I do this work for clients that I am now responsible for going out to find. There's a transition there, right? And so how you do that transition or how you manage that transition, I would say would be really important. Like, are you the kind of person that would rather get 1 or 2 clients before you leave, continue to work with them on your sabbatical so that you have them when you need them on the back end? Or you're the kind of person who wants to do a bunch of marketing when your sabbatical is over and try to get in as many clients as possible. Like, you know what I mean? Like, figuring out what that plan looks like would be really advantageous for you so that you're not like scared to go on the sabbatical because you don't know what's coming next. And that when you're in your sabbatical, you can really like get deep in it, like that rest and relaxation, because you know you have a plan for the back end, right? Because it's not like you're going back to the same thing and it's like I can just that's not your plan. Your plan isn't to step back into the same thing, and if it's not to step back into the same thing, there has to be some sort of transition.
Yeah.
All right, let's see the comments. I was just out here talking.
No, thank you.
Talking. All right, y'all. So Kelly, love to see my friend Sherry. She's been doing her thing in these Albanian streets. I was about to ask how y'all know each other, but then I remembered how y'all know each other. I think I know how y'all know each other. All right, so let's see what I missed. What did I miss?
Pink is telling all her business.
Kat said I had a similar experience. I worked remotely for 2 months in Mexico, and since I came back to the U.S., the job felt like an albatross around my neck. Yeah. Let's see. All right, what haven't we talked about?
What have we talked about? I feel like we did a lot of everything. We talked about community, we talked about travel, we talked about the men's. I don't know. Is there anything you want to ask me?
Where was the easiest place to make friends?
This is a long pause. I don't know. Online? Is that a place?
That is a place.
Because every country I would travel into, I would join a Facebook group and then try to message or try to make a post like, hey, does anybody want to have coffee with me or something like that? And so I would use being online to meet people in real life.
Okay.
Or some extrovert people will come up to me.
You were actively seeking people out.
Yeah. So at a certain point, I think I realized that, don't make that face. At a certain point, I realized that like me being in a bubble is not very good.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy my bubble, but it's nice to get out of the bubble sometimes and like, because you can experience things differently when you have people around, especially if they're like, you know, well versed in the area or they're from that area. You get a great experience.
Okay. So you were extroverting. I love it. I love to see it.
Part-time. It's a part-time
All right.
extrovert.
Okay. We didn't cover this one, but not before 10. Asked, did we cover healthcare services? We didn't. Did you ever need any kind of healthcare while you were
Can
in
I give?
Albania?
I'm gonna give a young person answer.
Yes.
Put a band-aid on. No, I'm kidding. So when I was in Albania, I saw a chiropractor because just I had this like pain in my arm, and I went to a doctor about it, and they were like, it's something with your alignment because Americans have poor posture and blah blah blah. So I saw a chiropractor, and man, I was getting my back cracked on for like $10 a session. It was great. I had travel insurance, but as far as like covering the cost of healthcare, everything was so affordable that, at least in Albania, because I never had to get anything done anywhere else. But when I was in Albania to go and see a doctor, they only charged me maybe 20 euros to have a consultation. And then my chiropractor appointments were, I think, not $10, probably like 12 euros a session.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you are in Albania for a year on that visitor visa, they don't have any healthcare requirements for you, or do you have to show that you have some kind of travel insurance, health insurance, anything?
I do not know. You don't
They
need it.
didn't ask you for anything.
No one's ever asked me for anything. They never asked if I had insurance. They were like, it's gonna be 2,000 lek. And I was like, okay.
All right. Okay. Some more questions came in. Bum 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 bum. What do you do in your free time?
Just like in general.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean,
let's talk about Albania. What were you doing in your free time in Albania?
walking. I walked a lot in Albania. I think it depends what kind of travel you are, right? Because for me, I'm just, living in Dallas, you don't walk anywhere. So sometimes just the sky amazes me. Just it's a different point of view. Like it's a different perspective to being in your car. So I love a good walk to just look around, see the nature, not too much nature, but I love a museum. In Albania, they have a big cafe, bar, resto culture. So it's like there's cafes everywhere. Like you can grab a coffee everywhere. They can't make lattes though. Just know that they can't make lattes. They will put cold milk in your drink. But yeah, I love a cafe. I love to people watch. I journal. I really don't do anything. I listen to podcasts. I go to museums. Um, when I started traveling, I set goalposts for myself. So there was a Luke Combs concert in October of last year in Denmark. So I told myself that like no matter what happens, I have to get to Denmark in October. I saw Beyonce in Spain that was in June, and I was like, okay, I have to celebrate my birthday in Spain because Beyonce is going to be there. And so like because I thought I would go home, that I set these kind of benchmarks for myself that like, okay, no matter what happens, no matter what experiences I'm having, I'll go to these 2 concerts, and then that'll be my year abroad. But I ended up staying longer.
Okay. That's good. Do you have any benchmarks for what you want to do when you're back in the streets next year? Have you decided anything? Any festivals you want to go to? I was going to say a jazz fest, but then I remembered you're not an old. So, any concert? Any what? Oh, yeah.
I like Justin from New Orleans. even thought about it. I think there's these two guys in the UK. I don't know if I can curse. They're called Shits and Gigs.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see them in London.
They're doing a tour in the US, aren't they? I just
saw
something
in the US. I want to see them in the US, but I think I also want to see them in London. I also want to go back to the Harry Potter studios in London. So maybe I'll plan something and think it through. I haven't really getting adjusted to being back in the US. I haven't really thought about leaving. Yeah. Oh, Abba says her daughter was at the Beyonce concert in Spain. Let me see.
You guys are basically related now.
Oh yeah. The people who always try to connect me with their daughters is hilarious.
So sorry, Abba's daughter is my friend. She's not allowed to connect her with anybody else.
Oh wow. Territorial, are we?
Yes. I thought you knew that. You did not know that.
I didn't know that.
Adrian is my friend.
Wow.
Thank you. Because I have to snitch to her daughter about what Abba does all the time. Your mama acting up. Let me tell you. Boop, 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 boop. No, I don't. But I do threaten Abba with that all the time. I'm going to tell Adrian what you said. Just like I told you.
What your mama be doing.
I don't want to know.
That's my homie.
Sorry. I don't want to know.
I received a formal invitation to visit. She said, pick a day and let me know. I'm practically in the family.
You're practically in her family. I am not. This is not about our relationship, but I would like you to know that we have two different families. Just
wow.
Our family does not mean you're in my family.
Wow.
Hello.
Shade.
I just didn't want there to be anything confusing. Okay. Anyhow, nobody ain't got to tell me what Mama's doing. I know what she's doing. I've known her a long time. See, that's exactly what Yolanda's daughter said to me. Okay, drop the skincare routine.
I use Dermalogica and I use The Ordinary, but you have to figure out what works for your skin.
Okay. All right. Well, I think there was another thing that we hadn't covered. Oh, Junket's mom. Hi, Junket's mom. Was asking this question. What advice would you give to a younger woman, especially high school students and young graduates, about travel?
Oh my God, I wish I had the knowledge and resources and access when I was in high school. I would say do it. Don't let anybody kill your dreams. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. I feel like when I was younger, I had all of these ideas about traveling and I thought I could never afford it. I could never do it. But like when you're at that young age, there's so many scholarship opportunities and study abroad opportunities that like, if you want it to happen, it can happen. They got white people out here sleeping on the floor and like going to different countries. I'm just saying, even like I would never stay in a hostel at my big age, but staying at hostels in Europe is like a totally different experience than they are in the US. And it's like affordable. I think be open to different ideas about travel, even though I'm never going to stay at a hostel. But you can do it. That's my advice.
So Brown Beauty Abroad added something to the conversation that I think we can talk about for a second. Working holiday visas are easy to get work visas specifically for young people. Yes. I would also say, like, I don't know if it just wasn't in the cards for me because college was basically like, I'm working 3 full-time jobs and going to school. Yay. And student loans. Yay. Yes, right. Okay. But like, I feel like studying abroad is not something that we talk enough about. And we also don't talk enough in my community. Maybe in your community you do. In my community, we didn't talk enough about studying abroad. We also don't talk enough about the visas that you age out of pretty quickly, like the visas that you can get before 30, like that Australian one and all these other countries that are like, if you're under 30, come and do stuff. But if you're over, go to hell. Like,
I think a lot of people discount teaching. A lot of like, I don't know if because for me, and mind you, I studied English, so like everybody was like, "Oh, you're gonna be a teacher." I was like, "Ew, I don't want to educate people." But that's the ticket to getting abroad, right? Like, don't knock it as a option. I have a friend right now. She's doing a fellowship in South Africa, and she went the academic route, right? She applied for fellowships, she applied for scholarships, and she's able to like go over there in South Africa. Now she's there for I think she got a visa to stay longer, but initially she's there for like 6, 7, 8 months just to study. So look into those programs and see what's out there. Also, if you're gonna get a student loan, use it for traveling. I just got a student loan and all I got was a degree. What am I gonna do with that? I don't even hang my degrees up.
Don't even know where they are. Where are they?
They're in a box. They're in a box. Girl. I knew I was gonna be in debt, like in student loan debt. I would have used that money to go abroad. Like if you're gonna pay for my education, pay for it in Belgium or somewhere else.
Just listen. Okay, so I'm loving Brussels. I don't love, but I'm loving Brussels. But I am. I feel like there may be something to this place. But to be perfectly honest, I think why I'm loving it is it's not as warm as I would like it to be. But where I'm staying is real mixed. Like it's right by. It's such a small city, but everything is right here. Like I don't need to walk across town to go to the. If I ask where's the best waffle place, I've got waffle waiting for me back there. If I ask where's the best waffle place, the guy's like, oh, there are like 4 of these in town, but the one you need to go to is here. And it's not the closest one because there's a closer one, but the closest one is a 3-minute walk. And the one he sent me to was a 6-minute walk. Right. And it's like, yes, it's freezing cold, but in the freezing cold, I can do a 6-minute walk, right? For a waffle.
I love that.
A gluten-free waffle because I'm a gluten-free girl. It's not. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Live your best life.
Listen, I woke up this morning and tell y'all. I realized I was sick when I was in Amsterdam. And then I realized it was probably COVID. Took a COVID test, it was negative, but you know them home tests from back in 2001, who knows, right? I don't know. But all the symptoms that it was for me, when my body reacted when it's COVID, all there. Then leaving Amsterdam, I threw out my low back. Threw out my low back in Amsterdam. Today was the last day in town in Brussels. Been here 3 days with back pain and COVIDness. I was like, I'm going to go to the what?
I said, what were you doing that you threw your bag out?
I lifted a suitcase.
Something you want to share?
I lifted a suitcase. I am not 31. Thank you very much. And not the big suitcase. I lifted my carry-on, and my carry-on was so deceptively heavy.
You say you're not 31, but have you seen Katrina? Let me tell you, I'm trying to get like her. She's up here running up mountains and stuff. Like,
I have video. I took a hike with Katrina up a mountain, and she left me behind, and then came back and running towards. Like, what y'all doing? And I'm like, we're walking up the same hill, and then she get running up again. Girl, get away from me.
Some people are just built differently.
Okay, so COVID backs out. Was supposed to get up and go to the art fair this morning. Woke up and was my period, and I was like, you know what? God is asking me to stay in bed.
Right.
He said,
sit down.
What if you just lay down today? Because that's what I hear.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you shouldn't do anything. So I left the hotel to get a waffle 6 minutes away, and then came right back. Because what am I doing? COVID back is out, and my period. Wrap it up. Put me in a box. What are we doing?
And you came to talk to me today, and you beat your face. I appreciate it.
I was like,
effort.
If I can't make it, listen, Patricia was the host last week. Kyoka could be the host today. Kyoka, just take it away. Girl, just take it.
No. Oh my God. When you do this, I literally feel like I'm going to break out in hives.
We're all friends here. We're all friends here. Child. Anyway, so I do feel like I'm dying slowly. But Brussels has been lovely. I had a friend tell me that she was here for Christmas markets, and I was like, this would be a great town to be in for the Christmas markets because it's so small, right? And it's so chocolate focused. It's so small that like if you're staying close to the center of town, you can go outside, see the lights in like an hour on the stalls and shit, and be back inside. You're not like getting in a car to go somewhere and do something and doop a doop and whoop whoop. It's boom and bam and you're done.
Yeah.
I see it. I see it. I do.
So is Brussels an option? Like a long term? Would you stay in Brussels?
I don't think so. Not for a long term.
Because it's too cold?
I just left Amsterdam and Brussels is 10 degrees warmer. So I hate to say that it's too cold. I could come back for a cute little month here. Cute little 2 weeks.
Okay.
I like it. I would definitely spend more time here. I feel like Brussels is who Amsterdam wishes she was. And she's not. Amsterdam for me is not.
The people love Amsterdam.
They do. See, now, I'm not saying this is a fact. It's a theory. It's a theory I have after leaving Amsterdam. And it could be that it was cold and wet, and so I was cranky. But I feel like people who say they love Amsterdam love marijuana or prostitution. Because what else? What else are we doing here?
You're showing your age.
Oh, the youth have something to say? Tell me.
I'm just saying, the people. So we don't criticize the use of marijuana, and we also
that was not no.
Sex workers
criticism of the sale of marijuana or the sale of sex.
You're just saying people like to indulge in these things, and that's why they come to Amsterdam.
Yes, that's why they say they like Amsterdam. That's not criticizing the things. That's saying that's all Amsterdam has to offer. It's criticizing Amsterdam, not the things. Like, what else is there in this city? That's why so many people say they love it. I don't get it.
I have heard that some people, instead of going to Amsterdam, you go to a different city like Rotterdam or what's the black one? The Hague or something. Like maybe it's Amsterdam as a city is not meshing well for you, but maybe you should try the Netherlands again.
Yes. I'm willing to try Rotterdam. I'm willing to try somewhere else. And it's not that Amsterdam was a bad city. I just don't get the draw of it.
That's fair.
Unless it's marijuana or prostitution. I just don't like. Why are so many people being like, I love it, Amsterdam? What about it do you like? Mom says Amsterdam in springtime is the best, but she loves the prostitutes. So, I just
trust the prostitutes.
I'm joking. Okay, so Ola Yinka says she loves Amsterdam and she's not a fan of marijuana or prostitution. So my question would be, what is it about Amsterdam that you love? I'm willing to be wrong about this. It's just a theory that I have.
Rebloom Room for gals who like tall men. Amsterdam is. So my thing is it tall and is it juice box, or is it tall and is it lanky? Because I don't like tall lanky men. There are a lot of tall lanky men in like Germany and Denmark, and that was not for me. I need a man who like can lift me.
I don't remember seeing juice boxes when I was there. But I don't know if that's the thing. Okay, so I felt like in Amsterdam, I mean, probably because I was in the tourist area, almost everybody I saw was a tourist. So what do the men from the Netherlands look like? I don't know, because everybody's high. and everybody's bundled up. They're all bundled. It's freezing cold. Everyone's bundled up in these giant jackets, and they're high. And I turn a corner, and there's a naked lady. There's no like warning or anything. I just turn it. Okay, right? What are we? Oh, all right. Like, I wasn't expecting that. Glad I'm not with children, because I feel like this would be an explanation I didn't need. But like, where are the naked men?
Oh, so that's the issue. So the issue is
no. That's not the issue. But we're not going to talk about it like that's not a thing, right? Like, where are they?
And was this?
I randomly stumbled down the street, I only saw naked women, or
so
like
this was just you weren't in the. I don't know. I've never been to Amsterdam. So is there like a red light district area, or were you just like la 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 walking down the street?
I was that's the thing. I was la 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 walking down the street. I looked at my map and it made more sense to go to the right, so I turned right, and then every business on that street in that alley was naked women, because there was no like, hey, you're entering a zone where maybe you don't want to take your kids.
So I saw naked men on the beach in Barcelona, and it was not a good experience.
No. I'm not saying it would be. I'm saying that if we're going to have women selling sex in red boxes, why don't we have men selling sex in red boxes? And that's not the point of this video. That's not even why Amsterdam irritates me. But also, why not?
Right.
What is there to offer? Also, I don't know what the men who live there bodies look like, because they were bundled. Everyone's bundled up, and I don't know who's local. If I saw men in the sex windows, then they might. I don't know how many of the women were local. And how many of them are imported. I don't know. I don't know how we got here, y'all.
It's gonna take a dark turn if we keep walking down this road.
I don't know how we got here. We've hit a couple dark road bumps along the way. The audience has been with us today on some pretty dark road bumps. Okay, so Alicia says lots of museums, biking, walking around canals, people are friendly. Okay. But I feel like that's a lot of cities.
Low key, everywhere in Europe has kind of like the starter pack, like walkable, check, good public transportation, maybe some architecture, right? Like you probably have museums. You probably they're probably better with having bike lanes. I know in Denmark, the bikes culture is like crazy. Like these people will hit you with a bike. But I think in Europe, like a lot of these places kind of have the same thing. So it's sort of like pick your poison. Like which one do you prefer?
Okay. So that's my curiosity, is why so many people seem to love Amsterdam. Is it that they haven't seen the other cities with the same starter pack? Or is it the things that they can't readily access in other places? Readily and publicly access in other places.
Could be it.
Anyway, so Get Right, Monica says, I feel you on Amsterdam, Rashida. I do love the Van Gogh Museum, but otherwise, I couldn't get in the Van Gogh Museum. I couldn't get in Anne Frank's house because everything was sold out. Everything is sold out because everybody's here. Everything is sold out.
Oh, so you don't prepare ahead of time? You don't?
Is this what you want to do?
I'm just asking.
I know where I'm sleeping. I know how I'm getting to the city. I have a good idea how I'm getting to the place where I'm sleeping. Tickets ahead of time? No.
No? I do tickets ahead of time.
I don't do tickets ahead of time.
I do tickets ahead of time.
I don't know where I'm going to, what I'm going to want to do and when I'm going to want to do it. I also, when I was in Amsterdam, know that I'm going to be back in Amsterdam next year for something. So I was like, it doesn't matter, right? I can get a ticket to the Steve Van Gogh Museum next year. I'll be back. Not a big deal. Now that I know, I could have gone to the Van Gogh Museum. You could get a private tour for €295, which is probably like $310. But the guy was like, it doesn't make sense for one person. He's like, if you're with a family, yeah, but like for one person, that's crazy. And I was like, I wasn't so excited about Van Gogh to buy tickets in advance. I don't think I need to pay $300 just.
No shade, I'm not a Van Gogh fan, but it's not my judge. I feel like for things that I know is my judge, and if I have to get it done, I will book in advance.
Okay. Yeah, there's something I feel like I need to do. Right? I just want to go, chill, eat some food.
But you've also been traveling for a long time. Chanel says that's a hot take. Very hot take.
Who says it's a hot take?
Chanel. Or Channel.
Oh.
It could also be Channel. I think it's Chanel.
What's the hot take?
But I think we
well, you get some hot, you get some cold. I don't know. No, I'm not a planner. For trips like this, baby, what do I want to do today when I wake up?
I'm so hesitant to say when I don't like something about a city, because I feel like you get a lot of backlash if somebody really likes something.
But here's the thing. If I said I like oranges, someone would be in these comments talking about, how dare you not show apples the respect they deserve?
Right.
I didn't say you can't like Amsterdam.
Right.
I'm saying I don't get the mass appeal of Amsterdam. Oh, the hot take was you saying Van Gogh campaign.
Wait, not me.
You. It's you, girl. It's you. It's not me.
It's just not my favorite. I've been to a lot of museums now. I don't want to start nothing.
Listen, it is. It started already. Who thinks Van Gogh campaign? I think Amsterdam's overrated. Listen, and I say this knowing that if I showed up and it was beautiful and the weather was gorgeous and it wasn't raining every day and it was sunny and warm, I would have loved it. I would have been like, Amsterdam is such an amazing city. I would have 100% been Team Amsterdam. And yet I'm not. It was not my experience. And so I have to own what I own.
Right.
It was rainy every day. Every day. The day was supposed to be sunny and beautiful. The one day was supposed to be rainy and beautiful. I looked outside the window, it was gray and rainy. And I was like, this was our sunny and beautiful day. Everyone was like, just wait till Monday. It's going to be gorgeous on Monday. It's going to be gorgeous on Monday. It's gray and rainy. And my hotel was going through renovation. A lot of things conspired to make it not a great experience for me. Like I just left Lisbon. Lisbon was really warm and inexpensive compared, like it took the same amount of time to get to and from the Lisbon airport and from the Amsterdam airport to my hotel. In Lisbon, it was 10 euros and Amsterdam was 50 euros. Same amount of time. It took places much more expensive in Amsterdam. It's like 20 degrees cooler. It was just, in comparison, it was the wrong time for me to go. So, yes, I said I didn't enjoy Amsterdam, but I know that some of those things were not Amsterdam related. I mean, the weather is always going to be city, but like I can't blame me not liking Amsterdam for me not being properly prepared. I was not properly packed. I did not have a coat. I did not have a coat to disguise whether I have a juice box body or not underneath in my bag. I didn't have a big enough coat, and that was part of the problem. But
I lit a fire with my Van Gogh comment.
They have thoughts. They have thoughts.
Phoenix says rain every day sounds miserable. I mean, I don't mind it.
On vacation? Get out of here.
I was in London. I would say I went during March, like February, March, and it was like pretty dreary weather. But when I'm in London, I always feel like I'm the main character in a rom-com. And so like the backdrop of rain on the cobblestone streets as I frolic down the sidewalk. Can you just receive me? Is this a safe place?
This is not a safe place.
I just feel like I'm
sorry, it's not.
into...
Safe space hour is over. I'm so sorry, friends. No. Main character in a rom-com, you're frolicking in the rain.
It feels like I'm gonna bump into someone who's gonna let me use their umbrella. I just feel like I'm gonna have that moment. I haven't. It hasn't happened, but it feels like it. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Okay.
No.
All right. Oh.
Because what's worse than Amsterdam weather? London weather. Child, these youth just be out here just saying any old thing. Just saying any old thing and disrespecting their elders.
I'm a writer. I love dreary weather.
Do you love being outside in dreary weather?
I could take a stroll. Maybe not like, I'm not talking about like storming, but I don't mind a glistle. A glistening.
I was in Amsterdam, like, I guess I'm working this week. I'll be on my computer. I shan't be going out there. And every time I went out there, I was like, ugh. Ugh. Just taking a walk. And I'm surrounded by naked ladies.
This sounds bleak and morbid. Like, this is not a good depiction. You have to go back to Amsterdam during a different time.
I do. So I knew when I was there, but I was scheduled to be back next year, but I didn't remember when it was. The exact same time. I'm scheduled to be back in Amsterdam the exact same time next year. And I was like, this was not good planning on anyone's part. On anyone's part.
Mm-mm.
I have tickets to Usher's concert in Amsterdam.
Ooh. Yeah. But
also,
I love Usher.
I really went to Bali. Like, what are you doing? Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm reading the London is the first place I went outside of the US. So I think it always holds a spot in my heart. So where I still have the rose-colored glasses on in London. Like, that was the first place I went to where I didn't really feel so oppressed because people were just minding their own business and not minding my business.
They're really gassing you up out here, and I don't know.
I'm just
like I don't. I'm about to leave this interview. It's gonna be Kiyoka on the screen. I'm about to leave for real. It's gonna be Kiyoka. Talk about London in the rain.
We all need to frolic.
Okay, have you guys subscribed to her channel? Because clearly she has things to say.
Yes, I talk a lot about frolicking. I'm just kidding.
And then I frolicked in London. And then I frolicked in Brussels. All right. No, the rain and the cold and wet.
It's perspective.
And everybody's high around me.
I don't like everybody being high, but see, maybe that's the sign. Maybe we need to partake a little bit. Just a little bit.
Me being high would not fix the problem of other people being high. Like, I feel like maybe you didn't carry the one when you did that math.
I also don't like being high.
All right, so her channel is Awkward Black Traveler. Nomad.
Awkward Black Nomad. Yes. Hi everyone. Please follow me.
And she's a handful. I like rain. Y'all just be saying stuff, and I don't get it. There's not a song called Only Happy When It Rains. I love that song. Rain is so beautiful to look at and can even be romantic. From inside. From when you're inside, rain can be beautiful. When you're outside, get it away from me, Lord. Get it away from me. I don't want it. Anyhow.
You've never had a guy like shield you from the rain? Like, am I alone here? Okay.
See, here's the thing about me. Unless there's having a guy shield me from the rain in the past does not impact my feeling about the rain in the future. Unless there's always going to be a guy shielding me from the rain and picking me up to carry me over puddles so my feet don't get wet. Unless there's always a guy that's reliable for that, it's not going to change how I feel about the rain.
You don't feel like the occurrence of rain improves the frequency at which you may be likely to have a romantic experience in the rain?
I'm inside. What don't you want, child? What don't you understand? I'm inside.
This is what I'm saying. Go outside the rain.
Have you seen people outside in the rain? You're from New Orleans. What happens when it rains in New Orleans?
People try to go inside. But I'm just saying.
Okay. They're rushing. They're minding their own business. They're rushing to wherever they're trying to go. They're either have an umbrella or they're trying to avoid getting poked by an umbrella. They're not happy. What is this romantic?
It could be delusion. I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that.
It's a level of delusion I want you to hold on to for a long time, but I want you to keep it away from me. Thank you. Thank you. Phoenix said, I'll be on the porch. Yes. Yes, the closest I'm getting outside is on the porch.
I love a good porch. JG said the rose-colored glasses are stuck on.
Delusion.
I'll take it.
Okay, Crystal says, live your rom-com. Yes, they are supporting you in your delusion, and I love that for you and for them. Don't involve me in it. I will support your delusion, but leave me out of it. Talk about, don't you feel like you're going to have a romance? No, I feel like I'm about to get wet and get cold. I feel like I'm about to be wet and cold.
Thank you, Crystal. We see each other.
I love running in the rain as long as it's not a downpour.
That sounds like a hazard.
I'm happy for you, Sherelle.
I would fall. I would fall.
All right. Only one person on this channel right now lives in a Hallmark movie, and we know who it is.
I'm okay with that.
Hallmark movie living. I
like Hallmark movies. So
yes, live in one. Find you a juice box in Ireland.
To get serious for 2 seconds. So like when I was studying, when I was getting my master's, we talked about like Black love and levity and the experience of being a Black person. And so one of the topics that we covered was about like how a lot of rom-coms don't feature Black people because Black love is often very terse and kind of difficult. So for me, leaning into living my life like a rom-com, leaning into, supporting Hallmark movies that feature Black characters, I am enjoying and I'm embracing love and joy in my life. Like I want to have these special moments that we've been told we don't have access to as Black people, right? Yes. I don't agree with that. I'm going to bump into someone and he's going to be my soulmate. And as ridiculous as that sounds, but I think being open to that positivity just colors my experience. Somebody said she said Delulu, but I think being open to the positivity of that experience kind of does give you these rose-colored lens. And sometimes that's needed in such a terrible world where we can't do anything about these really big problems like capitalism and gentrification, all these things we talked about before. So I'll keep my rose-colored lens for a little bit longer. So.
I love that for you. And I would love that for me too, but I know it's not going to be in the rain. That's the part where I'm like,
It doesn't have to be in the rain. It doesn't have to be in the rain.
Right?
You live your life a little bit Delulu, just a little sprinkle of Delulu.
I live my life a lot Delulu. There's a lot of Delulu. It just doesn't involve meet cutes in the rain. It doesn't. Because what's happening when it's raining? I'm inside. And unless I'm going to meet someone on the inside, it's probably not going to happen.
Somebody's going to come in there.
You know that sounds like a threat. You know that sounds like a threat. What are you talking about? A whole threat.
Is it?
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like a threat. All right. I wish I could get that vote feature to work. I'd have them vote on whether you're delusional or not. It's too late. We already know. We agree. Delusional. I finally got it to work. Now I'm like, what was the original question we were going to ask? That I was going to ask in the poll like 2 hours ago.
Let's normalize believing in best case scenarios. Beautiful.
That is. Yes. Yes. I've had some beautiful moments in a very light, misty rain. Beautiful moments. In my youth. At this age, I...
Care to share?
No. I'm talking about how I can barely get out of bed without like having a new ailment. I'm not standing in the rain.
First of all, you in particular, dude, you're right. You have the right mindset. You need to go inside because
I can't take much more outside.
We need you to go back inside.
I can't take much more of outside. You know that. Dreamers are delusional. They're really supporting you. Junket says, first kiss with now hubby in the rain. Yes. Yes.
Goals.
Yes. I love it. I love it. All right, Kyoka, thank you so much for being here today and sharing random moments of Delulu with us, for sharing some information about Albania, for being a wonderful guest. When are you going to, what is your departure date for the US?
You gonna tell me to depart? You gonna ask me right now on camera in front of all these people?
Yes, because now you'll have 200 accountability buddies.
I don't want you to. I'll tell you later. You know, once I figure it out.
Figure it out. Okay, so once you figure it out, can you tell the people on your channel? Can you tell the people on your channel when you figure it out?
Yes, I will tell people on my channel. You've given me a lot to think about, a lot to plan. Yes.
We're not playing, girl. We're not playing.
Go get Tylenol off the right.
We're not playing. My knee's not going to let me be in the cold too long.
I don't understand.
Of course you don't. You don't know what we're talking about. When we say we're not going to be out here with these shenanigans.
Why would you get arthritis? Is it from the cold?
You being a young again. It's fine. We love this for you. We love this for you. I love that for you.
You want to ask, how does my family feel about me bopping around the world? My older sister is terrified every time I leave. My aunt tells me that I can always come back home. The general consensus is that they are proud of me, though.
Yay. Yay. And you have a whole bunch of older aunties right here telling you don't understand nothing about that. 'cause you young. Wait a couple decades, baby girl. Wait a couple decades, you gonna know. Mm-mm.
Worried.
Hi.
Excuse me, you guys. I apologize.
I feel like there's so much advice about aging. This is random, and then we're going to end this. So much advice about aging that doesn't that isn't whispered, that we don't talk about enough, right?
Agreed. Like menopause and like so many women have fibroids and no one's talking about it amongst ourselves. Like I remember my older aunties or my grandma or my mom, no one told me about these things. Like, and I'm sure they were experiencing it, but they just hid it.
Listen, on a non-health related but aging issue, when my pubic hair started turning gray before the hair on my head, I was like, someone should have told me, because now I feel like something is wrong.
So that happened?
Exactly. I was like, there's no gray here. What's this down here? What's happening down here?
Yeah, we need to be having more conversations like this because, to be honest, I don't consider myself very young, but I want to know what's coming, you know? Like, I want to know. I think more women need to talk about it. Even the transition from being in my 20s to now being 30, my body is changing and I can tell. But again, like no one gave me the heads up, like, hey, when you get older, it's important to like remain active or because your metabolism is going to slow down, stuff like that. So
it's there's so many things. There's so many things they don't tell you. But baby girl, you now have a whole bunch of new aunts. You're gonna show up every once in a while and being like, get out the rain, girl. You're gonna feel this soon.
Get out the rain because your arthritis.
Your fingers, your toes, your joints, you're gonna feel it in your joints. Get out the rain. Anyway, now that we've touched every possible topic we could talk about,
maybe too many. Maybe
maybe one or two too many. Whew. Okay.
I stopped looking. Jesus. The comments are so lit.
Listen. But what are they telling you? That gray gonna sneak up on you, baby. That gray gonna be like, girl, what you... When I was experiencing my first grays down below, I was in yoga teacher training, and I told someone in training with me, a white woman in training with me, about it. And she said something like, oh, so it looks like Morgan Freeman.
Oh my God.
And from then on, any which is Morgan Freeman was the name she, and I was like,
listen, she did not have to snatch you up like that. She snatched you all the way up. Ooh. This is why. There's a conversation on TikTok right now where people are like, so they ask the question, who would you be safer with in a forest? A bear or a bear? Right? And people say a bear. But then the Black girls are saying, who do you feel safer with in a conference room? A white man or a white woman? And let me tell you, a white man is not going to drive you by my edges like that. Okay? At all.
She said Morgan Freeman, and I was like,
it was so unnecessary.
I might could stab you. Like, she said it, and I was like, I can see it. So you can't see. I can see it. So I In my weak moment, why would you do this to me?
Right. So unnecessary. It was so unnecessary. Check me out.
I was like I think I just froze. Like, did she just clock me? Like, well, yes. Yes. There's a resemblance there. Thank you. Oh,
Oh my god.
okay. So
She did. She thought she ate. thought she ate.
she did.
She thought she
That's
ate.
that one thing she did. I was like, woo.
No.
Oh, whew. I feel like a Black woman wouldn't have done that to me.
Never.
I just
What has never happened?
But it's so funny.
Because Morgan Freeman is so specific. Oh my god.
Oh my god. I was like, why would how
just
laughed.
Just violence. Just violence.
No. No. We are still friends to this day. But I will never forget that moment. Never forget that moment. Because she didn't even like I knew she was being kind of funny, but I don't think she realized like how traumatically funny.
Phoenix HR.
I feel like Morgan Freeman is better at Frederick Douglass. I think if you said Frederick Douglass, especially with like the hair situation, I would have had to be like, okay, wait a minute.
You would have got popped just a little bit. Little tap tap.
Might have been a little tap tap.
You bring out Frederick Douglass, like peak aggression. Absolutely not.
Oh goodness. Okay, all right. So friends, I think we're done for the day. I'm gonna take my Morgan Freeman, and she's gonna take her young bones and joints and go our separate ways. Let us know over on your channel what you're doing next, what your move is. What is something you want everyone to take away about you? How can they support you best? How can the audience that's still watching support you best?
So I would love for everyone to subscribe to my channel. I'm still putting content up there. I'm still talking about my life. You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on TikTok, whatever you like. But I'm Awkward Black Nomad on YouTube.
And Instagram.
And TikTok.
Okay. The TikTok, because she's a youth.
TikTok.
All right, friends. Thank you guys so much for being with us on this ridiculous video. But we did it. Thank you all. And Kyoka, thanks for being such a gem and a host. You were a host today. Yes, a host. Love it. You did excellent. Bye, y'all.
Comment.